what have we done in 2024? $3.5 billion in transactions, 600 clients KYB'd, and 109 actively transacting on the platform.
Zeebu is a crypto fintech company. These guys are revolutionizing the telecommunications industry with crypto.
I'll tell you exactly where the seeds were planted when it comes to telecom, crypto, blockchain technologies, all of that together.
Today I sit down with Zeebu founders Raj and Raghov, and we talk what it takes to be successful as a crypto company in telecommunications.
We never set out to be a token or a crypto company or have ZBU as a currency. It was a technology that we wanted to bring in. When we set out this whole journey, it was how can we help solve this whole payment problem and build a technology. Zeebu was a byproduct of it.
I just started running a Zeebu node. You can start staking Zeebu through my node and start earning passive stablecoin yield.
We actually have real-world yield. We are inviting the ecosystem and partners to enable these transactions. Naturally, we have to share a percentage of these fees with them as well.
Tell me about all this volume you're doing. Where does it come from? I'm running a Zeebu node. See, there's a lot of volume.
Right.
Excited about that. Anybody can use the affiliate link below and start staking and earning a yield.
Things get real in today's video. If you are into crypto, this is an interview you don't want to miss. Smash the like button. Let me intro this thing.
Cryptocurrency is the future of telecommunications, at least according to my guests today. Guys, we are live in the Altcoin Daily studio, a special episode. I'm here with Zeebu Leadership. We have Raj, who is the CEO and founder, and Raghov, who is the CMO and co-founder. Now, there is another co-founder not present. I assume somebody's got to be working right now.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me, guys. So Zeebu is tackling telecommunications. Before we get into it, let me tell you what I understand about telecommunications. Okay, I'll give you a beep, boop, beep. Hey, what's up, Raj? You want to go to the movies tonight? All right, cool. I'll send you I'll text you the info. Now, that's what I understand about telecommunications.
Right.
Is that the industry you guys are trying to upend?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, now it depends whether you were making a domestic call, whether Raj is in New York or whether Raj is in Dubai, right? That's the major difference, I'd say. Who's your cell phone service provider?
I have Verizon. Now, my girlfriend has T-Mobile, and she needs to switch because she's always getting her calls dropped.
Well, in either case, we are agnostic, right? Because when you are calling your girlfriend and she's, with you in either LA or Miami, doesn't matter. That's all at a domestic level. That's not the client that we're focusing on because Verizon and T-Mobile, they're doing all of their transactions and optimizing their subscriber base at a domestic level, right? Now, let's say your girlfriend was in Dubai, for example, and you're giving her a call, and currently she's enrolled with Etisalat, for example. Verizon and Etisalat aren't directly interconnected. So what happens is they don't want to pick up the cost of getting interconnected or managing the wholesale global traffic, right? They outsource these services to third-party service providers called wholesale voice and SMS service providers, or wholesale carriers, for example. And when they outsource these services to them, for example, whenever you were making that call, first, from Verizon, that call will be transferred to a local service provider in the US. That US service provider might route it through, let's say, somewhere in Europe. And then the European service provider will finally terminate it in Dubai. So if you have ever made a global call, you'll notice there's extra beeps, right? Every time. Those beeps are the call being kind of rerouted through multiple service providers to actually finally terminate to your end destination. Now, along the way, all of these guys need to do financial transactions with one another, meaning they have to pay each other at a global scale. The major problem there is international wire transfers can take anywhere between 5 days to, honestly, in some cases, over a month, right? And it's hindering business significantly for them, and I'll get into that later. But our major customer group, as of right now, is these wholesale service providers that enable subscribers all over the world to send each other texts and call each other at a global scale.
Now, do you guys have background in telecommunications? Because I'm wondering why telecommunications, like two questions, I guess. First of all, why crypto and telecommunications? Why jump into that industry? And do you have background in that or what is your background? And feel free to brag a little bit.
Yeah. So, obviously, all of us, all the three founding members come with a very rich entrepreneurial journey and background. I have built and sold two very successful startups all in tech space, all in the branding and marketing space. Have also been fortunate to be the founding member of the Google India team. When I say founding member, I meant the very, very initial set of people who started Google in India. And then, have done a bunch of other things. My other co-founder is also a serial entrepreneur. He came into the group as part of the acquisition that was done. He was running a Web3 company which was building technology platforms, and as part of acquisition, he came in. Raj comes from extremely rich financial engineering background. In our group, we kind of make fun of all of us saying everybody else is on one island. We are all like financially literate, and Raj knows how to derive value of almost anything and everything. So he's a financial genius, also takes care of strategy, vision, and all of that. So that's about us. But coming back to the main part, we got into this whole thing because we are backed by a group which is world's top 3 telecom carrier company. It's called Bunkai Group, and it also happens to be an organization that has been transforming telecom business for the last 3 decades. They are our anchor merchant, and they're also our lead investors. That gave us the strength to get into this industry, penetrate, go deep, and that is what has been helping us and giving us a completely different edge. Like when we started the business, we have within 2 years of our business, we have 500 customers signed up, more than 100 of them actively using our platform. And all of this could happen only because we are backed by this real business, which has been existing for more than 3 decades.
Right, 35 years to be exact. I mean, I'll tell you exactly where the seeds were planted when it comes to telecom, crypto, blockchain technologies, all of that together, right? So, as Raghav mentioned, Bankai Group is kind of the anchor merchant for the platform. My family in general has history in telecommunications for a long time, ever since the 90s. And we actively own one of the largest telecom carriers in the world, right? So back in 2020, I was managing my own securities portfolio. I was investing, and that's how I actually got into crypto. And I'm a fundamentally driven person, right? So I read the Bitcoin white paper, the Ethereum white paper, looked at the actual purpose behind the technology. And parallel to that, I also knew the struggles that telecom carriers were facing. Struggle number one was the margins in the industry had come down significantly from about 30 to 35% on average to about 5 to 6% around 2020. The reason wasn't because the industry was dying. The industry is growing at a CAGR of 3% every single year. The barrier to entry is relatively low. So high market saturation drives margins down. It's just a fundamental of business, right? So now, along with that issue, they were also paying high cost for transactions, right? As I mentioned, it's essentially a trading business.
That sucks. Nobody likes high cost.
Exactly. And now if your margins are 5 to 6% and business is competitive, you can't afford to have your transactions take 15 to 20 days to reach your counterparty, because what can happen is someone more local that can pay them first might get that business. And at the same time, if your transaction is, let's say, $100, your margin is $5, and your cost of transaction is, let's say, $3, now your margin came down to about 2%, then 5%, right? So it was becoming a increasingly difficult thing for telecom carriers to deal with. So now, with me understanding that problem and getting into blockchain technologies at the same time, the seeds were planted as to why not leverage blockchain technology to do transactions around the world, right? So before you get into this, maybe I'm just anticipating, right? The natural answer would be, why not just do transactions with stablecoins?
Yeah, why
at
not?
a global level, right? I'll tell you why. So we actually did a POC for about a year and a half.
POC?
Yeah.
Proof of
Proof of
concept.
concept.
Oh, proof of concept. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did a proof of concept as to why these transactions can't just be done through stablecoins, right? First of all, these telecom carriers are in all types of markets. A lot of these markets, stablecoins aren't even available easily, unless they're you handhold them.
Mhm.
So number one issue is most of these guys they have like $5 to $6 million on average as working capital alone. So first they have to go convert that working capital into, let's say, USDT, for example, or USDC. That is difficult to do. Usually the transaction ranges between 150 to 250 basis points, which is relatively expensive. After that, they have to deal with their bank for letting them make this transaction, which is also a very difficult thing to do in most parts of the world. A lot of banks won't let you make an OTC transaction. God knows why. They just have risk measures. After you figure that out, now you have to figure out where to custody those funds. If you can't just simply keep it in a MetaMask wallet and give it to a finance guy, it can get hacked, or the finance guy can pretend it got hacked, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
right. Additionally, now your other option is to use a service like Fireblocks, BitGo, any custodian, right? Those services are very expensive as well. They range anywhere between 75 grand to upwards of $500,000 to $1 million a year, depending on your volumes, of course. But a minimum of 75 grand, which is very expensive. Imagine you having a bank account and paying $75,000 for it every year.
It's not good.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that, right?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys aren't willing to do that either. So that's another struggle we figured out. And then lastly is compliance, right? You send me an invoice with a wallet address and I send money to it, and how do I know that's your wallet address, right? How do I know that the activity in that wallet address hasn't been an issue in the past? Like you haven't received money from, let's say, Iran, right? There's no KYT analysis done, know your transaction, right? That's the whole reason Chainalysis became a thing. Most of these businesses aren't going to get a Chainalysis subscription because they don't even know how to use it, right? So along with conclusion being, along with complexities, difficulty of operation, and cost of getting all of these services together just to simply do stablecoin transactions was very, very difficult for these businesses, and they pretty much just gave up. So at that point in time, we kind of built out our thesis that we need to take most of these services, put them into a user-abstracted platform, and give them directly to the businesses in kind of a handheld concierge service fashion. So that's kind of how we enabled about 109 institutions now to do over $3.5 billion in transactions, because we have created ease of use and their ability to simply settle any amount of transactions per day anywhere in the world within, let's say, 10 minutes.
Very interesting. So before we jump into specifics on what you guys are doing today, just final thought on this, big picture, understanding Zeebu and the market. Help me finish this thought. Before Zeebu, the telecommunications market was like this, but now that there is Zeebu, the telecommunications market is like this.
There are two aspects to this. Let Raj add. One, the most painful problem that we had. Also to just give you a quick 10 seconds background, we never set out to be a token or a crypto company or have Zeebu as a currency. It was a technology that we wanted to bring in. When we set out this whole journey, it was how can we help, solve this whole payment problem and build a technology. Zeebu was a byproduct of it, which apparently was a great thing to happen. But, if you look at like they say, right, before Christ and after Christ. So we, in our boardroom, we say before Zeebu, after Zeebu a lot of times. So I'm glad you asked that question. Before Zeebu, a lot of emerging economies, lot of, countries in the African subcontinent, some of them in the Asian subcontinent, the banks don't even have currency to process such large transactions. Today, if from US, at&t sends a, let's say a $60 million of, cash to, let's say, some telco in Ethiopia or one of those Nairobi or, let's say Bhutan, Burma, the banks don't have power to pay that kind of money. You will not believe we have customers who came on record and said it took 3 months for them to get their money out from the bank because bank didn't have that kind of currency. Bank didn't have that kind of money. So we are not just solving a technology problem. We actually solved a major financial problem at a national level.
Financial and supply chain.
Supply chain problem.
Supply chain of currency.
Yeah.
If I needed to put it in one sentence, right? It's kind of the difference between, let's say, a maximum of 25 days to a maximum of 10 minutes in you sending and receiving money. Now, businesses are fully optimized when it comes to cost of transaction, and they're fully optimized when it comes to business development, right? The way the whole industry works is it's on a prepaid basis. So let's say I'm a wholesale service provider, you're at&t, and I want to buy from you 10 million minutes at 10 cents a minute. And I'm going to trade that at, I'm going to trade the 10 million minutes at like 11 cents a minute or 12 cents a minute. That's going to be my margin. I have to pay you $1 million first, right? Now, let's say I'm based out of the UAE and it's going to take me probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get the transaction cleared and over to you. You as at&t don't want to wait that long, right? If Raghav is based out of, let's say, Delaware, he'll just pay you like today, right? Same day wire transfer. So now I lose out on that business development opportunity, even though I have a better relationship with you. Raghav was just able to pay you first. So that barrier is pretty much gone now with Zeebu. because it's a global kind of operation that most of these companies are running, they should be able to do global business development and global transactions as well. And the difference now is they're able to do that without barriers.
Excellent. All right, let's talk about today, because you guys have been in business for a while. You said, you're doing, tell me about all this volume you're doing. Where does it come from? I'm running a Zeebu node. I see there's a lot of volume.
Right.
Excited about that. Anybody can use the affiliate link below and start staking and earning a yield. But just, we'll talk about the yield in a second. But, before that, tell me about the business you're doing today. Where does all this volume come from?
So most of it's actually from non-US clients as of now. We haven't even enabled the US, and our prospective 40% of our prospective clients are based out of the US, right? So it's a $120 billion market. Like I said, it's at a global scale. Most of our customers are from Europe. There's some in the Middle East and others in Asia and Africa. So it's a pretty diverse set of customers, and we essentially just enable all of them to transact with one another. So that's where about $3.5 billion in transaction volume has come so far.
But this is business to business, right? Like
Yes.
these people,
Yeah.
do they even know they're using Zeebu, or because you partnered with the businesses and they're using Zeebu?
So their end subscriber isn't the one using Zeebu. It's the business itself. So again, I'll go back to this quickly, right? AT&T users want to make calls to Dubai, right? I manage US traffic. Raghav manages Dubai traffic. We're both businesses. So AT&T will outsource their service to me, a business, and Etisalat will outsource their business to Raghav. Now it's for both of us to decide, how the termination of minutes and SMSs will happen. So once we come down to a deal, we have to pay each other. That's the point. So all of our clients are businesses, but indirectly, this enables, retail subscribers all over the world to actually continue doing calls and SMSs.
And all of these companies that you onboarded, they're running a node like me. Is that hard to convince them to get into crypto and that this will be better for them? And you have to manage this node. Is that a hard process, or is it easy, or what is that like?
I mean, for them, it's less. They pretty much don't even feel as if they're using crypto, right?
good.
Think of any fintech platform like PayPal, right? It abstracts them away from all of the complexity and pretty much risk of using crypto. They don't deal with volatility, nothing. All they do is they initiate transactions with ZBU. Let's say I owe Raghav $100,000. I'll send him $100,000 in ZBU. It'll always terminate in his wallet in stablecoin because we have an automated swap on the back end. Because he doesn't want to just sit there, because ZBU can be a volatile asset, right? So he doesn't want to sit there and look at his wallet and wonder when he needs to cash out of ZBU. That's not his problem, right? So he always receives money in stablecoin, and he can off-ramp to fiat anytime he'd like. We have 3 different fiat on-ramp, off-ramp providers that provide us instantaneous services all around the world.
So if I have to describe the whole thing in one sentence, we are a bridge between the Web 2 and the Web 3 world. Doesn't matter if our customer is not a crypto savvy guy. I mean, obviously, thanks to folks like you who are making crypto more trustworthy, more reliable with all the efforts that you guys are putting. But so we are a bridge between Web 2 and Web 3. Even if they have never done a crypto transaction once in their lifetime before, they will still be able to do it with enormous amount of ease.
So you guys have been I feel like you're getting on so many people's radar this year. I just think you're killing it. I see the branding everywhere with Zeebu. Can you, share some of these milestones you've been hitting, whether it's partnership, whether it's volume? What has your 2024 been like this year?
Oh man, what took you so long to ask this question? I've been waiting. When will this question come out?
Let's go.
So Zeebu has been a dream ride for all of us, especially for a CMO, the captain of the ship from a marketing standpoint. And I love to brag about this on every single podcast. And I kid you not, if the host doesn't ask this question, I go very disappointed. I'm like, oh man, I didn't get a chance to show off. Jokes apart, coming to numbers, built a vibrant community of over 500,000 active folks across our Telegram, Twitter, all the social channels, all of that. You pick up any major crypto conference, we have painted it with Zeebu. When we met at Consensus, you saw what we did. The main stage, the largest booth. We are not doing it mindlessly. We are doing it to make sure that A, we establish that whole connect with the community and bring all the right thought leaders together. B, we also want to make sure that as a newbie, I believe in the art of storytelling, in the art of marketing and branding and all of that. Upcoming Token 2049, we are again one of the largest sponsors in Singapore. We started off with Singapore Token 2049. We did that in Dubai. We did that in Consensus. So for us, marketing and branding is at the core of everything that we do. In terms of, that's the number in terms of community, in terms of what we're doing. In terms of events, we have been like kind of doing crazy after parties, and these are like more of intellectual after parties and not the other way around. And then
I was at one of your after parties. Very intellectual. No, I'm just kidding. It was kind of fun.
Thank you. And then engaging with folks like you. I mean, we are very, very extremely conscious in terms of who we partner with. If you look at most of our thought leadership pieces that come out, we partnered with Crypto Megan. We have a very deep partnership with her. She's been a phenomenal. She's been a rock star in helping us bring out that content. We're now talking to you. We're talking to a lot of folks. I mean, obviously, being in this space, right? You have also so many. We are bombarded with all the incoming queries saying, "Hey, I'm the greatest KOL on the planet.
Yeah.
I can take you to the moon." But we're extremely conscious. We don't want to go after and work with people who make all these tall claims and who are, end of the day, not even have a credible community and followers. So it's a double-edged sword. I'm enjoying in what we are doing and how we are building this whole ship. We are also very conscious about whom we partner with and what we do. But yeah, it has been a phenomenal ride. In 1 year, 3.5 billion in transactions, 500 customers onboarded.
I mean, I'll make it short and simple, right? When we set out to do the project, there's two options that most projects have in front of them, right? It's do the marketing first and then build. Build first, prove yourself, and then do the proper marketing. In our case, we're catering to two different demographics. One is our actual customers, the telecoms. That's where we started, at least. And additionally, there's the Web3 community. Now, we need the Web3 community to enable us on the other side. But for our POC, we didn't want to do that. For our POC, we wanted to keep it simple and do the business development activities. So day one, we decided, okay, our target goal is to onboard 64 institutional clients, and the target would be to do about $1.8 billion in transaction volume over the next 1 year. So 1 year was a month ago in July, and at that point in time, we had done about $3.2 billion in transaction volume, and we had 109 institutional clients fully signed up and operating. Additionally, we had about 550 institutional clients in our waitlist. Now, that's where the Web3 community part comes in. Right? So to enable not just Web3, our community, the Zeebu community comes in, but to enable that 550 institutional clients that are in the wait list, we need to create better infrastructure. So we have come out with, the whole node operations program to increase our transactions per second and solidify the ZBU token trust network. And additionally, we are also onboarding liquidity providers, right? So any institution that provides financial services or enables transactions always needs to keep treasury on hand. So when we work with other exchanges, fiat on-ramp, off-ramp providers, there's always delays, right? Mm-hmm. There's 2, 3, 4 day delays when it comes to withdrawals. So we pre-fund those transactions, and we enable people to withdraw whatever amount of liquidity they have, either in a Zeebu-enabled wallet or even a self-custody wallet within minutes. How do we do that? By keeping $60 to $80 million for every $20 million in transactions we do per day. Simple enough. So in a way, we're over collateralizing our transaction volume to ensure that all of our customers at all points in time get instantaneous withdrawals. And over the past year, like I said, we were business development focused, and hence you didn't see much about us in, let's say, by the end of 2023. Now, once we hit our $1.5 billion mark earlier this year, we decided, okay, it's time to do the proper Web3 integration, bring them in, and actually enable the rest of the clientele that we have in our waitlist. And hence, you've been seeing more and more about us.
That's where Ragov started shining as the CMO.
Yeah, I mean, he spoke about all the cool things. The not so cool thing that he didn't tell was we used to have these crazy boardroom debates, almost, beating each other up, because I was always a believer that market first and come back and build. And he was of belief that build something, try something, launch, and then market. So, we kind of came to a common ground where we said, okay, we will build, we will do the proof of concept, we will probably do $1 billion transaction and then go out to market.
Cool. So let's talk more about the nodes, the staking, the liquidity. Like I said, I'm running a Zeebu node. Can anybody run a Zeebu node, or did I get the last one? Or can anybody stake? Anybody can stake with my node. There's a link in the description. Let's talk all about that.
So I will have him go in detail, but just to answer the first piece, node owners cannot be anybody. Again, there we are extremely conscious on who owns the node. Somebody with extreme amount of credibility, background, somebody who has done, who has been the long-standing heroes in the area are the ones who are node owners. Anybody can come in and stake like any other Web3 project. They are called deployers. But validator node, not anybody can own. And you are in the first phase, which means you are probably the top 20 people who have got the node. So you're not the last guy.
So it's a significant piece of the protocol, right? So there's a whitelisting process. We only have 300 nodes, and very specific people that can contribute very specific things to the Zeebu protocol are whitelisted per node, right? So you guys are obviously one of them, simply because you're one of the most credible people within Web3. You understand Web3, and most importantly, you have a community that you can educate properly. And I think that's the convergence point that Web3, digital assets, and blockchain technology are at right now, is to educate everyone about the actual integration with real world utilities and real world assets all together. So if you remember, I mentioned that last piece of enabling the last set of our customers and actually cater to the actual transaction volume per day that we want to enable. We have to integrate the community together for what? To increase our transactions per second, to create a trust network for the Zeebu token, and to bring in more liquidity to pre-fund the transaction cycle. So for that, we have launched Zeebu protocol. And the nodes that you are running and others are running for staking are a part of Zeebu protocol as well. So the way it's constructed is people that are actually significant and can add value to the protocol are able to apply for the node, get whitelisted, and then start running it. They open up a delegation pool where their followers or their friends and family, their community members could come in and delegate and enable their nodes to do more transactions per day. So let's say you have 1 million ZBU tokens delegated under your node.
Maybe
right?
one day.
Delegated under your node. That will enable your node to do pro rata equivalent amount of transactions. And that is how we'll be able to enable more transaction volumes on the platform. The idea isn't just to augment the platform's capabilities, it's also to make it sustainable, right? Today, we were somewhat centralized until Zeebu protocol, right? Me, Raghav, and the team had to go out, do business development activities. We had to raise funds. We had to set up the entire ecosystem and make the platform work, right? The goal for Zeebu is to create a decentralized payments platform while creating a proper integration between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. And this is what we call Web 2.5, actually. So Zeebu is the bridge between the two. That's what our logo is as well.
Oh,
right? You can see an infinite loop.
Camera.
You can see an infinite loop.
And then, is there a difference between running a node and just staking in general, or does it all fall under that umbrella? And talk to me about the yield, because you guys were saying this is real yield. People want to know about the yields. Let's talk about that.
So just before we get there, we want to define the terminologies so that people are very, very clear on what we are talking about, right? Validator is high reward. The people who run these nodes are the folks who are validating things on our platform with very high APY. All of the transactions or investment, everything happens in ZBU as a mode. Deployers, people who come in, who stake, there is no minimum, there is no delegators. So that's about who delegators are. The third and the most important piece, which we have not touched upon, is the OLPs, the on-demand liquidity providers. These are the folks who come in, who believe in Zeebu, but who also wants to have part of their investment in stable. So 25% of investment is in ZBU tokens, 75% is in stable currency, USDC, USDT, one of those. And then they are the ones who are actually doing the provisioning of liquidity. Now, because it is 75-25, the APY and the rewards are also proportionately adjusted. So these are three different actors, just to make sure that it is clear to all the audience what is involved in the governance program. And Raj can go deep in APY and what they will earn and all of that.
Are they earning Zeebu tokens or stablecoins?
Stablecoin.
Stablecoins.
So Here's the thing, right? Most projects out there, what they do is they enable these incentive mechanisms. They'll either use some part of their treasury tokens or mint new tokens in order to provide yields. The problem with that is you see, you can just look at probably top 20 crashes that ever happened in crypto. Look at the chart and see what the actual effect is of inflation of token treasuries or minted tokens.
Inflation's not good. I think we all know that.
Yeah, exactly. So the token price goes down, the entire community is kind of flustered, you see sell pressure, this and that, and the project pretty much ends there, right? In our case, that wasn't the intention, that wasn't the need either. We actually have real world yield that we collect from our clients. We collect 2% fees on each transaction, 1% from the sender, 1% from the receiver. Now, if we are inviting the ecosystem and partners to enable these transactions, naturally, we have to share a percentage of these fees with them as well, right? So let's say there's a $100 transaction on the platform. The Zeebu platform collects $2 on that. About 80 cents of that goes to the on-demand liquidity providers that are providing the stable and ZBU liquidity to make these transactions flow. And 60 cents of that, so 0.60%, goes to the deployers and delegators, right? So let's say you are a node runner, right? Let's say you enable $1 million in transactions, 0.60% of that goes to you in fees, simply because you enabled that amount of transactions. Now, if you have a delegation pool, you can independently decide how much yield you want to give out to your delegators. And the purpose behind that is so that you are the one who knows and understands your delegators, your community members, your friends and family, and your partners, right? So you need to decide how much yield you want to give out to them and what will incentivize them from time to time. And you can adjust those yields as well. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, you can start out with, let's say, 30%, right? Because you are making 45% total in yield. You keep 15% for yourself. Why? Because you are operating the node and you're actively providing value to the ecosystem. So, that's the basic breakdown. Delegators are the ones that simply come in, stake CBU token. Deployers and validators are the ones that run the nodes. And on-demand liquidity providers are the ones that provide the pre-funding of transactions for the platform.
And how frequent is the payout?
Every week.
Cool. And then so people who wanted to do this, there's a link in the description. Like if they click through, what is that process like? How easy is it for somebody, a retail participant, to do this?
All they need is a MetaMask wallet and the ability to do maybe 3 clicks. It's very simple. They would go to Zeebu. They would look for the deployer or validator node that they trust and believe in. So let's say, what would you call your node? What are you planning on calling your node?
That's a good question. I need to, it may be the Altcoin Daily node, but who knows?
Yeah, for internally when we were configuring your node, we called it ACD Brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say they go to the Altcoin Daily node, right? Because they believe in the Altcoin brothers and they trust them and they believe in their ability to actually continue growing the node's capability within the platform and capturing network share, right? You're giving out 30% yield as well, and they're happy with that. So they come to your node, they hit connect. All they need is ZBU in their MetaMask wallet, and automatically their ZBU gets staked. And the interesting part is the ZBU stays within their MetaMask wallet. It doesn't ever leave it, right? It kind of takes care of that risk component that a lot of other platforms face. So in case of, we've spent about $1 million on audits for the entire thing. But in case of a hack or cybersecurity attack, even if a hacker were to get into the protocol, there's no funds to be liquidated. It's all decentralized and the funds stay with the stakers.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then also something I thought was cool is the tokenomics of Zeebu. Your token is deflationary, but if you could talk a little bit about that.
Right. I don't normally use that term because, it's not, I guess, in a way, we're not controlling the treasury, right? It was set up to actually give justifiable value to the entire ecosystem for Zeebu over time. Now, that justifiable value is derived from, as of right now, from the amount of transactions we do on the payments platform, right? So anyone that's watching this can always go to zeebuprotocol.com or zeebu.com and look at the Phoenix Protocol white paper, which is our burning mechanism. But long story short, I guess, the way it works is, let's say over the past quarter, we do $100 million in transactions. And against that, whatever tokens were used for those transactions go to a burn pool. At the end of the quarter, we look at the closing market price and we burn off the average of the closing market price versus the average pricing per transaction, right? And that can kind of differentiate the burn quarter over quarter. It can be 10%, it can be 50%, it can be 1%, right? It all depends on, I guess, price action in a way. And the reasoning behind that is we want all of the price action, the burning, we want all of the price action to be carried over through actual consumption of the utility of the token, right? We don't want it to be trade based. That's not the goal. So all of our burning is associated with the transaction volume itself. So initially we had $5 billion, or 5 billion tokens total, and now we have 4.2 billion tokens. We burned 800 million tokens so far, and that's after doing $3.5 billion in transactions.
I have a few more questions for you guys. I want to give you guys an opportunity to talk about any different vertical we haven't covered, but anything else to mention as far as milestones hit or partnerships hit in 2024, or if not, what does the rest of the year look like for you guys? And then what does 3 years, if everything goes to plan in 3 years, what does success look like?
Absolutely. This is a great question, right? Because, as someone setting the vision for the company, I daydream, I night dream, I think, I imagine constantly. So anyone asks me what's going to happen in the future, that's about 50% of my brain's repository that I can talk about. So what have we done in 2024? In 2024 and 2023, as I mentioned, we've already done $3.5 billion in transactions. We have about 600 clients KYB'd and 109 actively transacting on the platform. And by the end of 2024, the goal is to launch the protocol successfully, be well on our way to have $1 billion in TVL. What that does is it enables us to do transactions of between $150 to $250 million per day, which is our current demand, right? We currently have to cap all of our customers on how many transactions they can do per day because we've reached capacity. We can only do about $20 to $21 million in transactions per day. Our actual demand is anywhere between 150 to 250 million per day. So the goal is, be well on our way to getting to $1 billion in TVL by Q1 of 2025. And after that, if we talk about the next 3 years, then I would say the goal would be get to $3 billion in TVL, augment the Zeebu platform's services as well. So we're currently working on our own machine learning-based credit rating system, right? The point to this would be to give credit rating to all of our customers and enable a lending pool. Because when it comes to cash flow issues, it doesn't just end at banks being a problem or transactions taking too long or costing too much. It's also payment periods, right? If I don't owe you money for 45 days, why will I pay you for 45 days? I won't, right? But if I need capital today, I might just be able to you might just be able to sell off that invoice to a lender. The lender will look at my credit rating system. Let's just say it's out of 10 and I'm rated, let's say 9.5. He's willing to take that basic risk. So he'll lend you at a cost. Maybe you'll lose $3 on a $100 transaction, but now you have capital to work with right now, and you don't have to wait 45 days. Along with this, we're also coming out with an insured version of factoring. This is called invoice factoring, right? So we're partnering with top insurance firms such as Alliance and let's say companies like at&t. If they owe you money, you'll be able to sell off that invoice for a very small cost. And since insurance would ensure that that payment's going to happen, lenders don't have anything to worry about it. Obviously, the yields there would be much smaller than uninsured factoring, right? Along with this, we are also currently exploring how to get into the remittances market. We want people who come stake in the Zeebu protocol to be able to have a MasterCard. We've made really good progress on this. So over the next month or so, you'll hear announcement about it. We have signed a partnership with Vodafone Cook Islands to do a POC for this exact thing.
For a card?
Yeah, MasterCard. So any amount of assets that you stake on the Zeebu protocol, our card issuing partner would provide 30-day credit against it to do remittances. So you would be pretty much transacting with your ZBU through a credit card. issued by MasterCard. And additionally, we also want to enable services in other industries such as oil and gas and, with the bullion markets, import export all over the world, right? Because I always say this entire solution was initially catered towards telecom carriers simply because we wanted to kind of prove the use case, but it's really a copy and paste solution. So I always say it's telecom today, rest of the world tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Very exciting. Raghav, anything else to add as far as what you're looking forward? I think Raj did a great job, but
I think, from a marketing standpoint, we want to kind of do more and more activities which are centered around the community, build more deeper and meaningful partnerships, work very closely with, likes of yourself, KOLs who are actually, pushing the envelope in the space and not being selfish just around what we're doing at Zeebu, but see how can we contribute to a larger dialogue in the space on making crypto and Web3 a mainstream dialogue. So, those are some of the areas. I mean, very recently we had a beautiful podcast with one of the policymakers in Dallas, Texas, and he was telling how he is, putting all his might on passing some of the bills. So collaborating with folks like that, I think, that's going to be our target too.
Yeah, so I mean, to top it all off, everything that I mentioned can only be done if we have a good governance system going, right? Because we don't only believe
and those
in,
are the stakers, those are the node runners.
yes, those are the node runners, those are the voters, those are the stakers, and those are the seasoned industry people that will come in on the Zeebu protocol and make decisions directly, right? So let's say, for example, you're leading the community council. The Altcoin Daily brothers are. You would be leading the community council because you know how to build a community, you know how to educate a community, and you know how to keep everyone connected. You're seasoned, you're experienced, and you know exactly how to do the execution on that end, right? And now you become a active voter on behalf of the community. So the whole idea is we actually want to build a governance system at Zeebu that works, right? We want to truly decentralize both technologically and operationally. A lot of other projects have failed in doing so, from my perspective, right? Let's say you're a project, you want to get a vote done. Most of them out there currently have to incentivize voters to come vote on something, and they'll market whatever decision they want to do 2 to 3 weeks before. So pretty much the vote goes their way. That actually makes a project centralized, right? So in our case, we are currently creating a 100-person governance council with 9 different councils. Each person in there would be voted in by the community, and they would be seasoned, such as cybersecurity specialists, tokenomics specialists, heads of compliance, etc., to actually do what they are best at, and they would carry votes directly from the community members.
Excellent, guys. I'm really excited about Zeebu. Awesome chat today. Your branding at Consensus was epic. I can't wait to see Singapore. And of course, now that I'm running the node, it's cool to be part of the governance ecosystem like that. Final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience, even though we've kind of been summing it up.
I'm sorry, just before we jump there,
please.
there is a ritual that we follow in all the podcasts we do, Zeebu founders. This is the segment where I kind of put you on spot and make you a little uncomfortable. And I'm kidding, but this is a segment that we kind of tend to chat with everybody, where we ask them a question, and it's going to be a simple question, right?
Let's do it.
When we decided to work with Altcoin Daily brothers, what actually caught our attention and what made us really want to do this was the credibility that you bring to the industry, the amount of good work you have been doing. I mean, formally, I have a PhD. I've done long study, research, and all of that, and we apply that in the work as well. So if you can ask me a question, I can tell you which video, which segment, who are you talking to that extent. So, but what we have heard and what kind of caught our attention is your way of filtering and bringing audience on your podcast. When I was having a coffee conversation with Crypto Megan, and we were telling that, hey, why don't we collaborate with Altcoin Daily brothers? She said, yeah, it's a great idea, but they anybody can't get on their podcast. You need to have great background, credibility, doing some real stuff, all of that, and only then they will filter, and only then they will agree to partner. And we respect that. We respect the way you kind of bring your audience and bring real good projects and help community understand, grow, invest, all of that. So I wanted to understand from your perspective, what was your take on Zeebu? How was your journey? I mean, I'm sure when you wanted to talk to us, I'm sure you did your homework. You wanted to know more about Zeebu, and you went and probably read about us. So we want to understand from your viewpoint, what is your take on Zeebu, and where do you think how do you think we are doing as a project?
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate it, Raghav. We always try and do our best. Zeebu first got on my radar. I don't know. I feel like probably I saw it. I think I've seen the branding before, but certainly at Consensus when I actually met you, Raj,
Yeah.
was when Zeebu started getting more on my radar, and you had like, yeah, one of the biggest booths, and you had some stats up about what you guys were doing. And, I just started doing more research, telecommunications. You guys come like from a very experienced background, and it seemed like you were doing big volume. So I was like, oh, there's something going on here. The way that you set up your tokenomics, I thought was pretty interesting and quality. And I don't know, overall, just the gut reaction, I thought, oh, these guys are doing big things in the space.
Yeah,
That's
thank
what I
you.
like about it.
I think the art of manifestation worked here because I saw you. I mean, we have been following you for a very long time, but when I saw you during one of the side events, hosted by the Shiptoshi, who's now our partner as well, that was the day I thought, we should get onto your show. And the next day when I spoke to Megan, she said, dude, it's not easy. I mean, they have their own filtering process before they get any guests on their podcast. I think it all worked out well. And thanks for all the kind words.
Thank you, man, and congratulations with that partnership with Shibtoshi, Squid Grow, and Silent Swap. Anything else? Just final sentence, final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience.
Click the link below for the Altcoin Daily Brothers node. And most importantly, go to zeebuprotocol.com, sign up for our waitlist. The protocol isn't live yet. It's purposefully done so we can actually build anticipation and make sure that everyone that is going to participate with the protocol is well educated and understands what we are trying to do. So sign up for the waitlist, go through all of our educational material, and participate in our communities. If you have any questions, go to the Zeebu Telegram, go to zeebu.com. There's a new version of the website coming out soon, by the way. It's going to look really, really good. And and follow us on all of our socials because sometimes we answer your questions before you even ask them.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, he took away my whole pitch. I mean, this is what I say.
I'm sure you
follow
wrote it
us
for
on Telegram, follow us on Instagram and all of that. But yeah, let's be good and do good, and I'm sure we'll do a lot of great things. I mean, you'll get to see all the good things that Zeebu has in its roadmap, and happy to collaborate.
Cool. Raj, Raghav, thank you so much for joining me today.